I'm Elena, and last month my mother asked me to co-sign her mortgage. 12 years after she left me alone for 31 days with $20 and a credit card that didn't work. I was 11. She flew to Europe with her boyfriend. And when I called her crying because the power went out and I had nothing left to eat, she blocked my number. This wasn't the first time she chose herself over me, but it was the first time I kept receipts. See, I had a diary, I had videos, and I had a neighbor who remembered everything. So when my mother stood in front of our entire family and called herself a sacrificing single mother, I didn't argue. I just pressed play. But let me start from the beginning. From the night I realized my mother wasn't coming back for a very, very long time. The call came on a Tuesday evening, 3 weeks ago. I was still at the office finishing up quarterly reports. Being a junior accountant isn't glamorous, but it's stable. It's mine. And after everything I went through as a kid, stable felt like winning the lottery. My phone buzzed against the desk. Unknown number, but the area code made my stomach drop. I knew that area code. I grew up in that area code. I answered anyway. Honey, it's Mom. 2 words. That's all it took for my chest to tighten. I know it's been a while, she continued, her voice dripping with that sugary sweetness she only used when she wanted something. But I've been thinking about you so much lately. About us. Us. Like we were a team. Like she hadn't vanished from my life for 3 years without a single birthday card or Christmas call. The last time I heard this voice was my 18th birthday. She'd called asking for money to buy a plane ticket so she could visit. I sent her $400. She never came. Never even apologized. What do you need, Mom? A pause. Then a little laugh, like I'd said something silly. Can't a mother just want to see her daughter? I'm back in town, Elena. I've been going through some changes, and I really think we should talk. In person. About family stuff. Family stuff. The phrase landed like a brick. I knew better than to trust her. I knew this was a setup, but some small, stupid part of me, the part that still remembered being 11 and crying into a webcam, begging her to come home, that part wanted to believe. Fine, I said. Coffee, Saturday, 2 o'clock. Perfect, honey. I knew you'd understand. You always were my good girl. I hung up before she could say anything else. Good girl. I used to live for those words. Now they just made me want to shower. What I didn't know yet was that this phone call would drag me back into a past I'd spent 12 years trying to bury. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window, wearing a cream blouse and gold earrings, like she was going to brunch with the ladies, full makeup, fresh manicure. For a woman who claimed to be struggling, she certainly didn't look it. Elena! She stood, arms wide, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. Look at you, so professional, my little accountant. I sat across from her, ordered black coffee, and waited. She talked for 15 minutes straight, about her third divorce, about how Derek, or was it Daniel, had been emotionally unavailable, about how hard it was being a single woman at 52, about how she'd been doing so much reflection lately. I stirred my coffee and said nothing. Finally, she leaned forward. Her voice dropped to that conspiratorial whisper she used when she was about to ask for money. Here's the thing, honey. I found the most perfect little condo. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, right by the park. But the bank, she sighed dramatically. They're being difficult. They need a cosigner, someone with good credit. There it was. You want me to cosign your mortgage. Just to get approved. Once I'm settled, once I get a job, you won't have to worry about a thing. And sweetie, it's not like I'm asking for money, just your signature. Just my signature. On a 30-year loan, tied to a woman who'd abandoned me as a child. Why not ask Aunt Karen? I said. She has money. Mom's face flickered, just for a second. Karen's complicated. You know how she is, always judging. But you, Elena, you're my daughter. Family helps family. Family helps family. Those words used to mean something to me before I learned what real family looked like. I'll think about it, I said. Her smile returned. That's all I ask. Oh, and Elena? I'm planning a little family get-together next weekend at Karen's house. I want everyone to see how well you've turned out, how proud I am of you. Proud. Right. She had no idea what was coming. The group chat started blowing up before I even got home. Ping, ping, ping. The Mitchell family chat, a group I'd muted years ago, was suddenly alive, and my mother's fingerprints were all over it. Aunt Karen. Diane told us about her situation, so sorry to hear about the divorce. Cousin Marcus. Hang in there, Aunt Diane, we're all here for you. Uncle Roy. Family sticks together. That's what Mitchells do. Then, tagged directly at me. Cousin Lisa. Elena, your mom was saying how much she's counting on you. Must feel good to be able to help. I stared at my phone. She'd already told them I was helping. Already painted herself as the struggling single mother with the devoted daughter. Already boxed me in. Another message popped up. From my mom, this time. My beautiful Elena is such a blessing. I don't know what I'd do without her. Heart emoji. I gave up everything for this girl, and now she's giving back. That's what real family is. Gave up everything. I almost laughed out loud. I closed the app without responding. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the word everything, about what she'd actually given up, about what I'd actually lost. That's when I remembered the box. It was under my bed, shoved against the wall behind old shoes and forgotten sweaters. I hadn't opened it in years, hadn't needed to. I pulled it out. Dusty cardboard, edges soft with age. Inside were report cards, faded photos, a broken friendship bracelet, and underneath it all, a spiral notebook with a purple cover. My hand trembled as I lifted it. The first page was dated June 3rd, 2013. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, the handwriting of a scared child. Day 1. Mom left today. She said 2 weeks. She gave me $20. I'm scared. I turned the page, and 12 years of buried memories came flooding back. I was 11 years old the summer my mother left. She'd been seeing Richard for 3 months. He was tan, drove a convertible, and looked at her like she was the only woman in the world. She looked at him the same way. She never looked at me like that. It's just a little vacation, she said, zipping up her suitcase. 2 weeks, tops. You're a big girl now, Elena. You can handle it. I stood in the doorway of her bedroom, watching her pack sundresses and heels. Who's staying with me? I told Mrs. Torres next door to check on you. And look. She pulled a $20 bill from her wallet, pressed it into my palm. For emergencies. And here's my credit card for anything else. Just don't go crazy, okay? $20 for 2 weeks. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to beg her to stay. But she was already calling for Richard, already grabbing her passport, already moving toward the door. Be good, she called over her shoulder. I'll call you when I land. The door closed. The taxi pulled away. I stood in the living room, alone, holding a $20 bill and a credit card I didn't know how to use. That night, I got hungry. I tried to order pizza online with the credit card. Declined. I tried the grocery store the next morning. Declined. I walked to Mrs. Torres's house and knocked on her door. Hi, sweetie, she said, confused. Can I help you? My mom said you were supposed to check on me? Mrs. Torres blinked. I'm sorry, honey. Your mother didn't tell me anything. My stomach dropped. I walked home slowly, counted the $20 again, and opened the fridge. Half a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, 3 eggs. That night, I found an old notebook and started writing. Day 1. Mom left. She didn't tell the neighbor. I don't know what to do. She said 2 weeks. I believed her. I was 11. I didn't know yet that my mother's promises meant nothing. I learned to survive fast. $20. 14 days. Or so I thought. That worked out to about $1.40 per day. I sat at the kitchen table that first morning and did the math in my notebook, the same one I'd started using as a diary. Day 2, I walked to the corner store and bought a pack of ramen noodles, 6 for $1. I bought 3 packs. I taught myself to cook on the stove. I'd never used it alone before. The first time, I burned my hand on the pot. I ran it under cold water and cried, not because it hurt, but because there was no one to put a bandage on it for me. Day 4, the bread ran out. I ate ramen for breakfast, ramen for lunch, half a pack for dinner, saving the rest for tomorrow. Day 5, I tried calling my mother. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then voicemail. Hi Mom, it's Elena. Can you call me back? I have a question about grocery stuff. She didn't call back. Day 6, I tried again, straight to voicemail. Day 7, I called 4 times. The 4th time, a robotic voice said, "The number you are trying to reach is not accepting calls." She'd blocked me. I sat on the kitchen floor, phone in my hand, and tried to understand. What had I done wrong? Was she mad at me? Did I say something before she left? Day 7, I wrote in my diary. Mom blocked my number. I called 6 times. She never picked up. I don't know what I did. The power went out that night. Mom hadn't paid the electric bill. I found a flashlight in the junk drawer, curled up on the couch, and watched the dark creep in through the windows. 2 weeks, she'd said. I was starting to think she wasn't coming back at all. Mrs. Torres saved my life. I didn't know it then. I was too young to understand how close I came, but looking back now, with adult eyes, I know the truth. Without her, I might not have made it. It was day 12. I hadn't eaten anything solid in 2 days, just water from the tap and the last crumbs of stale crackers I'd found in the back of a cabinet. I was sitting on the front porch because the house was too hot without air conditioning, and the walls felt like they were closing in. I remember feeling dizzy. The world kept tilting sideways. Elena? I looked up. Mrs. Torres was standing on the sidewalk, a bag of groceries in her arms. She was 60-something, retired nurse, lived 2 houses down. We'd never spoken much before. Honey, are you okay? You look pale. Where's your mama? I opened my mouth to lie, to say she was inside or at work or picking up groceries, but instead, I started crying. And I couldn't stop. Mrs. Torres sat next to me on that porch and listened while the whole story poured out. The trip to Europe, the $20, the blocked phone number, the dark house, the empty fridge. Her face changed as I talked. First confusion, then disbelief, then something I'd never seen directed at my mother before, fury. That woman left you alone? For almost 2 weeks? You're 11 years old. She wanted to call the police right then. Child Protective Services. Someone. Anyone. I grabbed her arm and begged. Please don't. Please. They'll take me away. They'll put me in a foster home. Mom will come back. She will. She forgot about me for a little bit. Please. Mrs. Torres looked at me for a long moment. Then she sighed. Okay, honey. Okay. But you listen to me. She took my face in her hands. You write everything down, every day, every meal you miss, every call she doesn't answer. You hear me? You keep receipts. Because someday, you might need proof that this happened. She went home and came back with soup, bread, and a promise to check on me every single day. And that night, I set up my mom's old webcam and pressed record. The video is hard to watch. I didn't look at it for 12 years. Couldn't bring myself to. But that night, after my mother's performance at the coffee shop, after the group chat bombardment, after finding the diary, I opened my laptop, found the old file, and pressed play. The screen flickered, a dark kitchen appeared, and then a face. My face. At 11 years old. God. I was so thin. Cheekbones sharp, eyes hollow, hair unwashed and tangled. I was wearing the same oversized t-shirt I'd worn for a week because I didn't know how to work the washing machine. The video me leaned toward the camera, started talking in a small, trembling voice. Hi. Um, it's June 24th, I think. Day 21. It's really late, I couldn't sleep. A pause, shaky breath. Mrs. Torres brought me food again today, but I'm still hungry. I'm always hungry now. I don't know why. Another pause, the sound of a refrigerator humming in the background. Mommy, if you're watching this, please come home. I'm trying to be good. I'm keeping the house clean. I'm not spending money. I'm doing everything right. So if you're mad at me about something, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. My voice cracked. I just want you to come home, please. I'm really scared. It's dark and I'm scared and I don't know where you are. Then, the doorbell rang. In the video, I flinched, froze, didn't move. Is anyone home? A muffled voice, male. Got a delivery here. I watched my 11-year-old self curl into a ball and wait for the footsteps to leave. The video ended. I sat in my apartment, 23 years old, tears streaming down my face. That delivery? I remember now. It was a postcard from Paris. My mother sent it to herself, to our home address, so she'd have a souvenir when she got back. She was thinking about a postcard, while I was starving, and now she wanted me to co-sign her mortgage. Something in me shifted that night, something cold and clear and certain. She would never gaslight me again, never make me feel guilty for surviving what she did to me. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in months. Mrs. Torres, it's Elena. I need to talk to you. Before I continue, I need to pause here for a second. If you've ever felt like you had to earn your parents' love, like you were never quite good enough, no matter how hard you tried, I want you to drop a comment below. Tell me, did you ever keep receipts on the people who hurt you? Because 11-year-old me didn't know that diary and that video would become the most important evidence of my life. But we'll get to that. Make sure you're subscribed, because what happens at that family reunion? You don't want to miss it. All right, back to what happened next. She came back on July 4th. I remember the date because the neighbors were setting off fireworks when the taxi pulled up. I was sitting by the window like I had every day for the past week, watching and waiting. 31 days. Not 14. 31. My mother stepped out of the cab looking like she'd just walked off a magazine cover. Tanned skin, sun-bleached highlights, new designer sunglasses. She was carrying shopping bags, plural. She walked in the door and dropped them on the couch without even looking at me. Phew! That flight was exhausting. I am so ready for my own bed. She stretched, yawned, and finally turned. Hey, sweetie. Did you miss me? Did I miss her? I stood frozen by the window, too stunned to speak. Part of me wanted to run to her, to cry, to beg her never to leave again. The other part, the part that had learned to survive, felt nothing at all. The trip got extended, she said, like it was nothing, like she'd stayed an extra hour at the mall. Richard wanted to see Rome, you understand? I didn't understand, but I nodded anyway. The next morning, Mrs. Torres came over. She knocked on the door with a casserole dish in her hands and fire in her eyes. Diane, her voice was flat, controlled. You left this child alone for a month. I found her starving on your porch. I fed her every day while you were gallivanting around Europe. My mother laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, Margaret, always so dramatic. Elena's fine. Look at her, she's perfectly fine. Kids are resilient. She's 11 years old. I almost called the police. Something flickered in my mother's eyes. Annoyance. Maybe fear. Then she turned to me. Elena, did you tell Mrs. Torres that I abandoned you? Did you make me look bad? I couldn't speak. We handle family matters privately, Mom said. I'm sorry Margaret scared you with all her talk. She's just a nosy neighbor who doesn't understand our family. She closed the door in Mrs. Torres's face. Then she looked at me, smile gone. Don't ever embarrass me like that again. That was my apology. That was my welcome home. And I swallowed it, buried it, forgot it for 12 years. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Elena? Mrs. Torres' voice was warm, a little raspy with age. My goodness, honey, it's been too long. I hadn't called her in almost a year. Life got busy, work got busy. I told myself those were the reasons, but the truth was simpler. Talking to her meant remembering, and remembering hurt. I'm sorry I haven't called, I said. Oh, hush. I know you're busy with that important job of yours, but I'm guessing this isn't a social call, is it? I took a deep breath. My mother's back. Silence on the line. I see. Her voice hardened just slightly. And what does she want this time? Money. She wants me to co-sign her mortgage, and she's been telling the whole family what a wonderful, sacrificing mother she was, how she gave up everything for me. Mrs. Torres made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a curse, hard to tell. That woman hasn't changed a bit, has she? No, she hasn't. I paused. Mrs. Torres, do you remember what you told me that summer about keeping receipts? I remember every word, honey. I still have them. The diary, the videos, all of it. Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was different, stronger. Good. That's good. And Elena? I kept my own records too. Dates I fed you, what you weighed when I found you, notes from every single day, old habit from nursing. I never threw them away. My hands were shaking. Would you, if I needed you to, would you be willing to show them? To tell people what really happened? Honey, her voice softened. I've been waiting 12 years for you to be ready. Just tell me what you need me to do. I stared at my reflection in the dark window. 23 years old, stable job, my own apartment, and still somehow my mother's voice in my head telling me I was dramatic, ungrateful, making things up. Not anymore. I need a witness, I said, and I think I need to stop protecting her. Mrs. Torres' answer was immediate. Then let's make that happen. Aunt Karen picked up on the third ring. She was my father's sister, the only connection I had left to him after the car accident took him when I was 15. She'd always been kind to me, always sent birthday cards and graduation money, but we'd never been close. My mother made sure of that. Every time Karen reached out, Mom had an excuse for why I couldn't visit, couldn't call back, couldn't attend family dinners. Elena, sweetheart, it's so good to hear from you. Hi, Aunt Karen. I tried to keep my voice steady. Do you have a minute to talk? Of course, of course. Your mother's been filling me in on everything. Poor thing. 3 divorces, can you imagine? And she speaks so highly of you, says you're ready to help with her new start. My jaw tightened. Aunt Karen, what exactly did she tell you? Well, that you're co-signing her mortgage, that you're happy to do it. She said you practically insisted. I closed my eyes. She lied. Silence. I never agreed to anything. I haven't even decided yet. And there's a lot about my mother that the family doesn't know. Karen's voice turned cautious, careful. Elena, I know your mother can be difficult, but she's still your mother. Family is... Aunt Karen, are you planning to lend her money? A pause. She asked for $50,000 for the down payment. I was considering it. $50,000. That's what my mother was really after. Not just my signature, my aunt's life savings. I have something I need to show you, I said. Before the family gathering. Before you give her anything. Can I come see you tomorrow? Karen hesitated. I could hear the conflict in her breathing. What kind of something? Proof of who she really is. Not her story. The truth. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then, come at 10. I'll make coffee. I hung up and stared at the notebook on my bed. The diary. The evidence. My mother was about to find out that the scared little girl she'd abandoned had grown into someone who wouldn't stay silent anymore. But she didn't know that yet. And that was exactly how I wanted it. I showed up at Aunt Karen's house with my laptop and a folder full of scanned pages. She lived in a neat colonial on a tree-lined street. The kind of house my mother always talked about wanting but never worked for. The living room smelled like fresh coffee and furniture polish. "Thank you for seeing me," I said, settling onto her sofa. Karen sat across from me, coffee cup in hand, face unreadable. "You said you had proof. I'm listening." I didn't want to tell her. I wanted to show her. That's what Mrs. Torres taught me. Let the evidence speak. "This is a video," I said, opening my laptop. "I recorded it when I was 11 years old, the summer of 2013, the summer Mom went to Europe." Karen frowned. "I remember that summer. Your mother said you were at some kind of camp." "I wasn't." I pressed play. The video filled the screen, the dark kitchen, the hollow-eyed child, the trembling voice begging her mother to come home. Karen's coffee cup slowly lowered to the table. For 3 minutes, she didn't speak, didn't move, just watched. When the video ended, she looked at me with something I'd never seen on her face before. Horror. "This is real? This actually happened?" I handed her the folder, the scanned diary pages, 26 entries, dated and detailed, in the shaky handwriting of a child who was keeping herself alive one day at a time. She left me with $20 and a credit card that was already declined. She blocked my phone number. She didn't come back for 31 days. Karen's hands were trembling as she turned the pages. "I called her that summer," she said quietly. "I asked about you. She told me you were having the time of your life at camp. She said you'd made so many friends you didn't want to come home." She lied to everyone. I kept my voice steady. She's still lying, and she's going to lie at that family gathering too, unless someone stops her. Karen looked up from the diary. "What do you want to do?" "I want to let the truth speak for itself. I just need to know. Will you be there when it does?" She closed the folder, set it down, met my eyes. "That family meeting your mother planned? I think we need to let it happen, but not the way she expects." For the first time in 12 years, I didn't feel alone. I drove home that night with my hands steady on the wheel and my mind clear for the first time in weeks. Karen believed me. She'd seen the evidence with her own eyes, and she believed me. But believing wasn't enough. I needed a plan. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea that went cold while I thought it through. Two options kept circling in my head. Option 1, confront my mother directly, call her up, tell her I knew what she was doing, demand she stop lying. I tried that before, in smaller ways. It never worked. She'd cry, twist my words, make me feel guilty for bringing up the past. She'd call me dramatic, ungrateful. She'd say I was hurting her, and somehow I'd end up apologizing. Option 2, let her tell her story at the family gathering. Let her stand in front of everyone and paint herself as the martyred mother who sacrificed everything. And then let the truth speak for itself. I chose option 2. I wasn't going to yell, wasn't going to argue. I was just going to stop protecting her from the consequences of her own lies. I picked up my phone and called Mrs. Torres. "Elena, is everything all right?" "I have a plan," I said. "The family gathering is Saturday. My mother is going to give a speech about what a wonderful mother she was, and I'm going to let her. And then? And then I'm going to play the video, show the diary, let everyone see what really happened." A pause. "I'll be there. You don't have to—" "Honey," her voice was firm. "I've been waiting 12 years to tell people what I saw. You're not doing this alone." I felt my eyes sting. "Would you be willing to write it down? Everything you witnessed? Dates? Details? Like you used to do when you were nursing?" "Already done. Been sitting in my files since 2013. I'll bring it with me." I wasn't going to attack my mother. Wasn't going to scream or cry or beg her to understand. I was just going to stop saving her and let gravity do the rest. The week before the gathering, my mother went into full performance mode. The family group chat exploded with notifications. Every day, another post, another memory she'd manufactured. Monday, a throwback photo of me at 8 years old, wearing a Easter dress she'd bought on clearance. Caption: My little princess. I gave up everything for this girl. Every dream, every opportunity. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Heart emoji. The comments poured in. You're such a good mom, Diane, and Elena is lucky to have you, and family is everything. I read them all. Didn't respond. Took screenshots. Wednesday, a long post about the struggles of single motherhood and how she'd worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. She'd never worked 3 jobs. She'd barely worked 1. More comments, more heart emojis, more people praising a version of my mother that had never existed. Then Thursday night, my phone rang. Her number. Hi, honey. Too cheerful, too sweet. Just checking in about Saturday. You'll be there, right? And you'll say something nice? About how much I've meant to you? I kept my voice neutral. I'll be there. And you'll tell them, right? About how I was always there for you? How I sacrificed? I'll tell them the truth. She laughed. That tinkly, fake laugh. Of course you will, sweetie. The truth is that I love you more than anything, and I know you love me too. The line went dead. I looked at my phone, then at the USB drive on my desk, containing 26 days of video files, then at the folder with Karen's address on it, where the scanned diary now lived. My mother was about to walk into that gathering with complete confidence. She'd spent a week building her narrative, lining up her supporters, creating the perfect stage. She had no idea that I'd been building something too. Saturday was 3 days away, and when it came, nothing would ever be the same. Saturday morning, I woke up at 5 a.m., not from an alarm, from the kind of wired alertness that comes when your body knows something big is about to happen. I lay in bed and ran through the checklist in my head. USB drive with the video files. Check. Diary scans loaded on my phone. Check. Printed airline tickets from 2013, recovered from my mother's old desk drawer years ago. Check. Mrs. Torres's written testimony, signed and dated. Arriving with her at 3 p.m. Check. I got up, showered, and stood in front of my closet for a long time. Finally, I chose simple black pants and a gray blouse. Nothing flashy, nothing emotional. I wasn't there to perform. I was there to witness. At noon, I called Aunt Karen. You ready? I asked. I've been ready since I saw that video. Your mother has no idea I know, does she? No, she thinks you're on her side. Karen made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sigh. I was on her side. For 20 years I was on her side. Not anymore. At 2 o'clock, I called Mrs. Torres. I'll be there at 3 sharp, she said. I've got my letter. And Elena, whatever happens today, you're doing the right thing. Your father would be proud. My father. I hadn't thought about him much lately, but she was right. He would have been proud. I got in my car, turned the key, watched my hands grip the steering wheel. You are not the villain for telling the truth. I told myself that 100 times this week. I still wasn't sure I believed it, but I was going to do it anyway. The drive to Karen's house took 20 minutes, the longest 20 minutes of my life. When I pulled up, I could see my mother's car already in the driveway. She was inside, performing, setting the stage. She had no idea what was coming, and in exactly 1 hour, she would. I walked into Aunt Karen's living room and felt like I'd stepped onto a stage. Everyone was there, Uncle Roy and Aunt Patricia, cousins Marcus, Lisa, and Derek, Karen's husband Bill hovering by the snack table, my grandmother's old portrait watching from above the fireplace, and in the center of it all, my mother. She'd dressed for the occasion. Cream silk blouse, delicate gold jewelry, Just enough makeup to look elegant but not overdone. She looked like a woman who had suffered gracefully and deserved the world's sympathy. "Elena! There's my girl!" She swept toward me, arms open, and pulled me into a hug that lasted exactly long enough for everyone to see it. "Come, come, sit down," she said, steering me toward the couch. "I was just telling everyone how grateful I am for all of you, for family." The speech started almost immediately. She stood by the fireplace, dabbing her eyes with a tissue that came out of nowhere. Her voice trembled just the right amount. "I know I've made mistakes, we all have, but being a single mother, you can't imagine how hard it is, raising a child alone, putting her needs before your own, every single day." I watched the room, heads nodding, sympathetic murmurs. Lisa actually wiped her eyes. "I gave up so much for Elena, my career, my youth, my chances at happiness. But I'd do it all again, because that's what mothers do. We sacrifice." She turned to look at me, her face soft with manufactured emotion. "And my daughter, she knows how much I love her, how much I've always loved her." She stretched out her hand. "Elena, sweetie, why don't you come up here and say a few words? Tell everyone what a blessing our relationship has been." The room turned toward me, expectant, waiting. I stood up slowly, but not to give the speech she wanted. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I'd like to show everyone something first." And I walked toward the TV. I didn't reach for the USB drive, not yet. Instead, I turned to face my mother, hands clasped in front of me, voice calm. "Mom, do you remember the summer of 2013? Something flickered in her eyes, there and gone in a heartbeat. "2013? She laughed, but it came out too quick. "Honey, that was so long ago. Why would you bring that up now?" "Because you said you sacrificed everything for me. You said you put my needs first. Always." I paused. "Do you remember your trip to Europe that summer? With Richard?" The room had gone quiet. I could feel everyone watching, uncertain. My mother's smile didn't waver, but her hands tightened on the tissue. "That was a short vacation, a couple of weeks. I needed a break. Single mothers need breaks too, Elena. It was 31 days. Silence. I counted every single one. My mother's laugh this time sounded forced. "Sweetie, you were 11, children exaggerate. You probably just missed me, that's all." I wasn't exaggerating. I turned to look at Aunt Karen. "She told you I was at summer camp that year, right?" Karen's face was stone. "That's what she said." "I wasn't at camp." I looked around the room, making eye contact with each family member in turn. "I was home, alone, for 31 days, with $20 and a credit card that didn't work because she hadn't paid the bill." Uncle Roy shifted in his seat. Cousin Lisa's mouth hung open. Elena, that's ridiculous," my mother said. Her voice rose slightly. "I would never do that. Why are you trying to hurt me? Why are you making things up?" "I'm not making things up." I kept my voice steady. "And I have proof." My mother's face changed. Just for a second. Just a flash of something real underneath the mask. Fear. "What proof?" She tried to laugh again. "What could you possibly—" "A diary," I said. 26 entries, written by an 11-year-old girl who was starving in an empty house while you were drinking wine in Paris. I reached into my bag and pulled out the USB drive. And a video. I didn't play the video yet. I wanted them to hear my voice first. The voice of the child I used to be. I opened my phone, pulled up the scanned pages, and began to read. June 3rd, 2013. Day 1. Mom left today. She said 2 weeks. She gave me $20. I'm scared. The room was silent. No one moved. June 7th. Day 5. I tried to call Mom again. The phone says her number is blocked. I don't know what I did wrong. I've been eating ramen noodles. I only have $12 left. My mother opened her mouth to speak. Aunt Karen held up her hand. Let her finish. I kept reading. June 14th, day 12. I almost passed out today. Mrs. Torres found me on the porch and gave me food. She wanted to call the police, but I begged her not to. I don't want to go to foster care. I just want my mom to come home. Cousin Lisa was crying now. Uncle Roy's face had turned red. June 24th, day 21. The power is still off. I sleep with a flashlight. I called Mom's number again, but it's still blocked. I recorded a video tonight, in case something happens to me, in case I don't make it. I want someone to know what happened. I closed my phone. I was 11 years old. I wrote those words because I thought I might die, and I wanted someone to find me. She's making this up. My mother's voice cracked. Children exaggerate, they dramatize. I was only gone for 31 days. Aunt Karen's voice cut through like a blade. June 3rd to July 4th. I saw the airline tickets, Diane. Elena kept them. Every head turned toward my mother. Karen. Mom's voice turned pleading. Karen, you can't believe. I do believe. I saw the evidence myself 3 days ago. Karen stood up. You looked me in the eye and told me she was at summer camp. You lied to all of us. The room erupted in murmurs, questions, accusations. My mother's careful mask was cracking, and I wasn't done. But the diary isn't all I have, I said. I also have a video. My mother went on the attack. This is ridiculous. She stepped forward, hands raised, voice rising to a pitch I knew well. This is absolutely ridiculous. My own daughter standing here trying to humiliate me in front of my entire family. She turned to the room, arms spread wide. I was a single mother. I made mistakes, but I loved her. I have always loved her. No one responded. You're all going to believe a diary written by an angry child over me? Your own sister? Your own cousin? The woman who raised Elena completely alone? Still silence. She spun toward me, mascara starting to smudge. How could you do this to me? After everything I sacrificed for you? I gave you life, Elena. I fed you, clothed you, kept a roof over your head. You gave me $20, I said quietly. And then you blocked my phone number. I was overwhelmed. I was going through a hard time. Richard was the first man in years who made me feel like a woman instead of just a mother. I was 11 years old. She froze. I was 11, and I was alone, for 31 days. And when you came back, you didn't even apologize. You told me I embarrassed you by telling the neighbor. Uncle Roy stood up. Diane, did you or did you not leave an 11-year-old child alone for a month? Mom's face twisted. It wasn't like that. It was, did you or did you not? Her mouth opened, closed. It was complicated. You don't understand. The trip got extended and I thought she would be fine. Kids are resilient. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folded paper. The airline confirmation, printed 12 years ago. Her name, Richard's name. Departure, June 3rd. Return, July 4th. This is the original itinerary, I said. 31 days, booked in advance. Mom stared at the paper like it was a knife. You planned it. My voice was steady. You always planned to be gone for a month. And you left your 11-year-old daughter with $20 in a lie. The room was so quiet, I could hear the clock ticking. And I wasn't done yet. Before I continue, can we just take a breath here? Because what I'm about to show you next, the video, that's the part that still makes me cry. Even now, if you've ever had someone gaslight you about your own childhood, about your own suffering, I need you to comment, I believe you below, not for me. For every kid who was never believed. Okay. Deep breath. Let me tell you what happened when I pressed play. I plugged the USB into Karen's TV. My hands were steady, my voice was calm. Inside, the 11-year-old girl who'd recorded this was trembling. This video was recorded on June 24th, 2013, day 21, at 2 in the morning. I pressed play. The screen flickered to life. A dark kitchen appeared. Shadows on empty counters. The faint green glow of a microwave clock showing 2:14 a.m. And then, a face. My face. At 11 years old, I was barely recognizable. Thin, hollow, dark circles under eyes that looked too old for the face they belonged to. My hair was tangled and greasy. I was wearing the same oversized t-shirt I'd worn for days because I didn't know how to work the washing machine and was too scared to try. The video version of me leaned toward the camera, started to speak. Hi, it's June 24th, day 21. It's really late. I couldn't sleep. In the living room, no one moved. Mrs. Torres brought me food again today, but I'm still hungry. I'm always hungry now. On screen, the 11-year-old me swallowed hard. Mommy, if you're watching this, please come home. Cousin Lisa made a sound, something between a gasp and a sob. I'm trying to be good. I'm keeping the house clean. I'm not spending money. I'm doing everything right. So if you're mad at me about something, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Video me started to cry. I just want you to come home. Please. I'm really scared. It's dark and I'm scared, and I don't know where you are. The video ended. For 15 seconds, nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. My mother stood frozen by the fireplace, face white, hands shaking. Aunt Patricia had her hand over her mouth. Uncle Roy's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. Karen's eyes were red, but she didn't look away. The silence stretched. Then the doorbell rang. Aunt Karen went to answer it. I already knew who it was. Mrs. Torres walked into that living room like a woman who'd been waiting 12 years for this moment. She wore a simple blue dress, carried a manila folder under one arm, and looked at my mother with eyes that could cut glass. I hope I'm not late, she said. I'm Margaret Torres. I was Elena's neighbor in 2013. Every head swiveled. My mother's face went from white to green. Who the hell are you? She hissed. Why are you here? Mrs. Torres didn't flinch. I'm the woman who kept your daughter alive while you were drinking wine in Paris. She walked to the center of the room and addressed everyone. I found that child alone, malnourished and terrified. She weighed 72 pounds when I started feeding her. At 11 years old, she should have weighed at least 85. She opened her folder and pulled out a stack of papers. I'm a retired nurse. I kept records, dates, times, what I fed her, how much weight she gained while I was taking care of her, the meals I cooked, the nights she couldn't sleep because she was afraid, the times she begged me not to call the police because she was scared of being taken away to foster care. She set the papers on the coffee table. This is my written testimony, signed and dated, in case anyone needs proof that this isn't made up, in case anyone thinks Elena is being dramatic. The room was completely still. My mother's hands were shaking so hard she had to clasp them together. This is a setup, she said. Her voice cracked. You're all ganging up on me. My own family, my own daughter. Mrs. Torres looked at her with something that wasn't anger. It was worse. It was pity. Mrs. Mitchell, your daughter spent 31 days starving in a dark house while you traveled Europe, and when you came back, you didn't even say sorry. She turned to me. She has nothing to apologize for, not to you, not to anyone. And for the first time in 12 years, I believed it. Aunt Karen was the first to speak. She stood up slowly, her eyes fixed on my mother, and when she spoke, her voice was ice. I was going to lend you $50,000. I was going to help you start over. She paused. Not anymore. Karen, please. You told me Elena was at summer camp. You looked me right in the eye at my own kitchen table, and you lied. Uncle Roy rose from his chair. You left a child alone for a month. What kind of mother does that? Cousin Marcus, who'd been silent the whole time. I can't believe we almost fell for your act. My mother started crying. Real tears, maybe. Or maybe just the next weapon in her arsenal. You don't understand. I was going through such a hard time. Richard was the first man who made me feel alive in years. And I was 11. My voice stayed level. I didn't have anyone to make me feel alive. I just wanted my mom. She spun toward me. I came back. I came back, didn't I? After 31 days, and you never said sorry. Not once. Not ever. She looked around the room, searching for an ally. Any ally. Someone who would take her side. Nobody moved. "You've turned everyone against me," she whispered. "No, Mom. The truth did that. I just stopped hiding it." She grabbed her purse from the couch. Her hands were shaking. Her mascara was running down her face in black streaks. "I won't stay here and be attacked. I won't." She walked toward the door. No one tried to stop her. At the threshold, she turned back. "Elena, if you let me leave like this, you'll regret it. You'll never see me again." I met her eyes. "I spent 12 years protecting your reputation, Mom. That ends today." The door slammed behind her. And just like that, she was gone. The silence after she left felt like the silence after a storm. Everyone stood frozen. The video was still paused on the TV screen. Mrs. Torres's papers still lay spread across the coffee table. My mother's coffee cup sat abandoned on the end table, lipstick stain on the rim. Then Aunt Karen walked over to me and pulled me into a hug so tight I couldn't breathe. "I'm so sorry," she whispered against my hair. "I'm so sorry we didn't know. I'm so sorry I believed her." I didn't realize I was crying until I felt her shoulder getting wet. "You couldn't have known." My voice came out rough. "She's very convincing." Karen pulled back, held my face in her hands. "You should have told us. We would have helped." I was 11. I thought it was my fault. And by the time I realized it wasn't, I swallowed. I just wanted to forget. Mrs. Torres sat down beside me and took my hand. "You did nothing wrong. Not then. Not now." One by one, the others came forward. Uncle Roy, gruff and awkward. "I'm sorry, kid. I had no idea." Cousin Lisa, wiping her eyes. "I feel terrible. I was sending all those messages in the group chat, telling you to help her. You believed what she told you." I managed a small smile. "I'm not mad." Cousin Marcus cleared his throat. "I should tell you something. Your mom, she borrowed $3,000 from me last year. Said it was for Elena's education. I never saw it back." Karen's jaw tightened. The room hummed with murmurs. Other stories. Other lies. Other times my mother had manipulated, borrowed, taken. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the only one who saw her clearly. "From now on," Aunt Karen said firmly, "anything Diane tells us, we verify. I won't make this mistake twice." I nodded. "I don't need you to hate her," I said. "I just need you to know the truth." And finally, after 12 years, they did. The messages started before I even got home. Ping, ping, ping. I glanced at my phone on the passenger seat while stopped at a red light. 27 notifications, all from her. I didn't read them until I was safely inside my apartment, door locked, shoes off. Then I sat on my couch and scrolled through them one by one. How could you do this to your own mother? "I gave you life, Elena. You've turned the whole family against me. I hope you're happy. I have nothing now. No money, no family, no one who loves me. This is all your fault. Call me. We need to talk. I can explain everything." The timestamps showed they'd been sent over the course of 3 hours. The tone shifted as time went on. Angry, then desperate, then angry again. The final message was the worst. "If you don't help me, I don't know what I'll do." Think about that, Elena. Whatever happens next is on your conscience. I stared at those words for a long time. A year ago they would have worked. I would have panicked, called her back, apologized for upsetting her. I would have found some way to make it my fault. Not anymore. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, I wrote 2 sentences. "I hope you find the help you need, but it won't come from me." I pressed send. Then I went to her contact information and pressed block. The screen went quiet. I sat in the silence for a moment, waiting to feel something. Guilt, maybe. Grief. The loss of a mother who had never really been mine. What I felt instead was lighter, like I'd been carrying a weight for 12 years and had finally set it down. The diary was still sitting on my bedside table where I'd left it that morning. I picked it up, turned to the back, and found a blank page. It was time to write a new entry. I found a pen and sat cross-legged on my bed. The last entry in the diary was from 12 years ago, July 3rd, 2013, the day before my mother came back, day 30. Tomorrow is July 4th. Maybe she'll come home for the fireworks. I hope she comes home. 23-year-old me looked at those words written by 11-year-old me and felt something crack open in my chest. I turned to the next blank page and began to write. December 28th, 2025. 12 years later. To the little girl who wrote in this book. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry I let you carry the guilt. I'm sorry I spent years thinking it was your fault she left. It wasn't. It was never your fault. You were 11 years old, and you survived something no child should ever have to face. You kept yourself alive. You asked for help when you needed it. You wrote everything down because someone told you to keep receipts. Those receipts mattered. Today, they mattered. Today, you finally told the truth. Not to hurt her, to free yourself. And the people who love you, they believed you. They stood with you. You're not the scared little girl anymore. But I'll never forget her. She saved my life. I closed the diary. My phone rang. Mrs. Torres. How are you feeling, honey? I looked at the diary in my hands. At the 12 years of silence between those last two entries. Free, I said, and I meant it. I feel free. Good, her voice was warm. Now I want you to come to my house for New Year's Eve. I'm making my famous pot roast, and I'm not taking no for an answer. You're family now, Elena, the family you chose. I smiled for the first time all day. I'll bring dessert. A week passed, then another. January came with cold winds and a clarity I'd never felt before. I was at my desk at work when Aunt Karen called. Elena, do you have a minute? Of course. Your mother reached out to me yesterday, through email. Karen's voice was careful. She wants to apologize. She says she's changed. She's asking if I can set up a meeting between the two of you. I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. Gray sky, bare trees, the world going on, indifferent to family drama. What do you think? I asked. Karen was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I think she wants the loan more than she wants forgiveness. She didn't mention you at all until the end of the email. Mostly she talked about her situation, her hardship, what she needs. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Then you have my answer. I'll tell her. A pause. And Elena, I'm proud of you. Your father would be proud too. We said goodbye. I went back to work, finished a report, ate lunch at my desk. Normal things, ordinary life. But something was different now. I didn't feel guilty anymore. Not for setting boundaries. Not for telling the truth. Not for refusing to be her safety net while she jumped without looking. I texted Mrs. Torres on my lunch break. See you on New Year's Eve. I'll bring that chocolate cake you like. She replied with a heart emoji. The first emoji anyone had sent me in weeks that didn't make me feel sick. That evening, I walked home in the cold and thought about the 11-year-old girl who'd survived on ramen and hope. Who'd written in a diary because she had no one to talk to. Who'd kept receipts not for revenge, but for proof that she wasn't crazy. She'd grown up okay. More than okay. She'd grown up into someone who knew her worth. And she wasn't going to let anyone take that from her again. 3 months after the family gathering, I got an update from cousin Marcus. He texted me on a random Tuesday afternoon, the way family sometimes does when they've been sitting on information and finally decide to share it. Hey, thought you should know, your mom couldn't get anyone to co-sign her mortgage. The condo deal fell through. She's renting a studio apartment now on the other side of town. I read it twice. Waited for the guilt to hit. It didn't. Nobody in the family is really talking to her anymore, Marcus continued. Karen definitely isn't. I heard she had to leave her church group too because word got around about what happened. She's been telling people that you and the neighbor manipulated the family, but nobody's buying it. I typed back a simple response. Thanks for letting me know. Then I put my phone down and went back to my Saturday morning. The thing is, I didn't feel satisfaction, didn't feel vindicated. I just felt neutral, like hearing about weather in a city I no longer lived in. My mother's life was her own now, her choices, her consequences. I'd spent 12 years shielding her from the fallout of her decisions, staying quiet so she could tell her stories, absorbing the guilt so she wouldn't have to feel it. Not anymore. She still emailed sometimes. I could see them piling up in my blocked folder. Sometimes the subject lines were angry, sometimes they were pleading. I never opened them. Karen told me once that mom was telling new people, coworkers, acquaintances, that her daughter had been brainwashed by a neighbor and had turned against her for no reason. I almost laughed when I heard that. No reason. Sure. But the people who mattered knew the truth, and the people who believed her lies weren't my problem anymore. I was done carrying weight that was never mine to carry. The spring after everything changed, I started building a new life. It happened slowly, the way real healing does. Not in big dramatic moments, but in small, steady choices. I started having Sunday dinners at Aunt Karen's house. Her pot roast wasn't as good as Mrs. Torres's, but she always set a place for me, always asked about my week, always hugged me goodbye, like she meant it. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Reyes, and the first time I told her about the summer of 2013, I cried for almost the entire session. But I went back the next week, and the next. You spent years believing you had to earn your mother's love, Dr. Reyes said once. That if you were just good enough, quiet enough, helpful enough, she would finally see you. And now? Now you're learning that love shouldn't have conditions, and neither should basic human decency. I got promoted at work, not because of what happened with my family, that had nothing to do with my job, but maybe because I was showing up differently, more confident, less apologizing for existing. I started dating someone. His name was David. He was a middle school teacher with kind eyes and a habit of actually listening when I talked. On our third date, I told him a little bit about my childhood. That sounds incredibly hard, he said. Not pitying, just honest. It was, but I'm working through it. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Mrs. Torres threw me a birthday party in April. 24 years old, she invited Karen, Marcus, even a few of my work friends. There was cake and wine and people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they felt obligated. You're family now, Mrs. Torres said, wrapping an arm around me. The family you chose, and that's the best kind. I looked around the room at the people who loved me without conditions. She was right. Some nights I still sit on my balcony and think about everything that happened. Not in a sad way anymore. More like taking inventory, checking the road behind me to see how far I've come. I think about the 11-year-old girl who survived on ramen noodles and hope, who wrote in a diary because no one was listening, who recorded herself crying into a webcam at 2 in the morning just so there would be proof she existed. I think about how long I protected my mother's reputation, how many times I swallowed my own story so she could tell hers, how I believed, for years, that being a good daughter meant never talking about what she did to me. I kept those receipts not because I wanted revenge. I kept them because I needed proof, for myself, that I wasn't crazy, that what happened was real, that my memories weren't dramatic or exaggerated or whatever other words she used to make me doubt my own mind. And when the time came, the truth didn't need me to yell. It didn't need me to attack or accuse or make a scene. It just needed me to stop hiding. That's the thing I wish I could tell everyone who's been through something similar. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to beg people to believe you. You just have to stop protecting the person who hurt you from the natural consequences of their own choices. The truth will do the rest. I don't hate my mother. I don't wish bad things on her. I just don't need her approval anymore. And honestly, that's the most freeing thing I've ever felt. For the first time in my life, I know my worth doesn't depend on someone else deciding I'm valuable. I get to decide that for myself. So here's the thing. If you're still listening, if you're still watching, if any part of this story felt familiar, the guilt, the silence, the fear of being the bad one for speaking up, I want you to know something. Keeping receipts isn't petty, it's survival. You don't owe anyone a second chance to hurt you, not even family, especially not family. And if you're not ready to speak yet, that's okay. I waited 12 years. Your timeline is yours. Nobody gets to tell you when you're supposed to heal or confront or let go. But when you are ready, the truth will be enough. You won't need to yell. You won't need revenge. You won't need to convince everyone or make some grand dramatic gesture. You just need to stop saving them from the consequences of their own choices. You just need to stop setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. I'm Elena Mitchell. I survived 31 days alone at 11 years old. I kept a diary that nobody knew about and recorded videos that nobody watched for 12 years. And when my mother stood in front of our whole family and called herself a sacrificing mother, I didn't argue. I just let the truth speak. For the first time in my life, I didn't protect her from what she'd done. And for the first time in my life, I protected myself instead. You deserve that too. You deserve to stop carrying guilt that was never yours. You deserve to be believed. You deserve people who show up for you without conditions. And if you're still waiting for permission to put yourself first, here it is. I'm giving it to you. Now go write your own ending. So that's my story. The story of $20, 31 days, and the truth that finally set me free. If any part of this resonated with you, if you've ever kept receipts on someone who hurt you, or if you're still gathering the courage to speak, drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, there's one linked in the description that I think you'll love. It's about a daughter who was the family ATM for 15 years, until she discovered one receipt that changed everything. Click it. You won't regret it. And remember, your truth is enough.